Welcome. If you're new here, don't you hate when that happens? There's nothing I could do about it. He is like on his own wavelength. He's going his own direction. He's like, not today. I know once again, I'm white as a ghost, but there's nothing I can do. I like this area the most in my house. And like I've mentioned previously, I don't have a super cool studio yet. I don't have the nice white perfect background that a lot of vloggers and people have. You know, I just imagine that we're going to be one of those success stories where it's like, we started from our apartment and now look at us. Yeah. Welcome. My name is Kimberly. I'm the owner of Drip from the Crypt candle company. We're a frisky mix of creepy and classy. We primarily right now sell spooky and movie themed candles, luxury candles, and other little spooky items. And I have started videotaping myself in the process and sharing it with you guys. I thought it'd be super cool to sort of film my journey and just kind of film and go through this experience with you guys so you can learn from my shortcomings so you don't go through them yourself, and so we could all kind of just like learn together. We'll have a little bit of fun together. So I wanted to keep today a little short and sweet. Recently we actually just we just had our first pop-up shop, which was super exciting for us because we had primarily been doing online sales, and we thought, hey, like we just want to go ahead and jump right to it. How can we go ahead and expand our reach and get new customers? And by we, I mean me, but my boyfriend just naturally has to tag along. So we got accepted to our first vending event, and it was called OC Dreamers Market. So we live in Southern California, and this particular one took place in Tustin, California. And so I kind of wanted to let you know what my thought process was, how I prepared. And then, because when I went into it, I had this idea of what we need to prepare for. I looked things up. I followed the instructions that the vendor had sent us. However, of course, once you actually jump into it, there's all this stuff that you learn that you weren't thinking of. So as I go through it, I kind of want to discuss my thought process and what we definitely needed, and then additional items on top of it that I just totally didn't even think of, that I learned later actually mattered. So I'll share those with you. Also, excuse my hair. Our water heater is broken. We're having a plumber coming tonight. But only our cold water is working, which sucks. I mean, it makes sense because the hot water heater is what heats the water, but so we don't have hot water right now, and I hate cold showers. I hate them. I love just like a scalding hot shower that just like burns off all my skin and makes the fire alarm go off and everything. But we have a plumber coming tonight, so, or like a hot water vendor man. That's a plumber, right? Hot water vendor guy. So he's coming tonight. So right now we're just doing like a little top bun situation, and we're all just going to deal with it. It's okay. But yeah, so at our vending event, OC Dreamers, we were so happy with the results. And I know that sounds like, you know, I'm sure everyone says that, but our situation was a little bit different because we're mostly in like the spooky horror movie niche, but we also kind of have like a classy kind of mainstream twist on it. And I'm sort of going in between on whether I want to go full nosedive into just like the spooky niche. I kind of want to appeal to everyone. I don't want to just pigeonhole our business into one niche. But I do know that niching down is important as well. However, the vending event that we went to this past weekend, OC Dreamers, it wasn't a spooky theme. It was actually really cool. Their main thing was that they don't see small businesses as like a small business. It's that we're all dreamers, you know, we're all trying to get out there and grow our businesses. So it was really cool because there was a whole lot of different people, a lot of different businesses. There wasn't just one main theme. There was ours, and we were more of like the spooky theme. We had our skeleton, Sam Skelly. Ooh, let me go get him. We brought Sam Skelly, and he... Poor Sam. We thought that everyone, like all the kids, were going to love Sam, and Sam did so great. He was there. He was our mascot, but we actually think that he scared more kids than actually ended up liking him. Like, they would kind of look at him, and we'd be like, hey, wave hi, and then they'd be like, ugh. It's not Sam's fault. I think if we brought him to more of like a spooky event, people would understand it more, but since we were at like It was more so just like a non-themed, non-spooky themed event. And I think I'm just so used to like the spooky community being so scary and so just like who can do the next scary thing, who can just keep on topping each other. It's like so competitive on like who's the scariest, that I think I went into it just thinking like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna love him, right? Look at that face. And a lot of people were like, okay, crazy pants. So yeah, that was kind of my feelings about the whole thing. But granted, we were the only spooky company. However, I feel like our product is broad enough that it's kind of that like wild thing that anyone can still enjoy. It wasn't so gross and so scary that regular people coming to a regular farmer's market could enjoy it. So we were actually really impressed with our sales. We were super happy. But let's just go ahead and go down our list. Depending on what time of the day it is, if it's during the daytime, most likely you're going to need either an umbrella or an easy up tent. And which one you get completely depends on the size space that you rented from the management of the vending opportunity. When I signed up, I actually just found them on Instagram. They had a sponsored ad. So I signed up, and in the application, you're going to choose which size space that you want. And two really common ones that I've seen are a 6x6 table space or a 10x10 easy up space. So that's like an easy up 10x10, you have that entire space. And so a couple things on this. So when I first signed up, I was like, you know what, we're only selling candles. So I was thinking, you know what, like 6x6, a table, that sounds just fine. Like that's all I need. So I actually emailed the vendor and I was like, hey, is it okay if I actually switch to a 10x10? And she was like, yeah. So she sent me an invoice and I paid the additional. So those two sizes are pretty common, and these spaces typically are not free. So you will be paying a premium or a price for the space that you're renting. So in my case, the 6x6 was going to be like $75 or $70, and the 10x10 easy up space was going to be $95. And so to me, that was a no-brainer, because a 6x6 table, you're going to be able to put your items on there, but it's literally, that's all you're going to have. One thing is that the 10x10 canopies, they're obviously more expensive. So financially, if the 10x10 space is going to be so much more significantly expensive than what your product is going to offer or for the event, it may make more sense to get the 6x6 space. Since we were already going to be buying a 10x10 easy up for future events anyway, we just decided, let's go ahead and cut the loss. Let's spend the extra $25. Let's get the easy up, and then that way we could decorate, we'll have more space for our items, and it all just worked out perfectly. And I'm so happy that we ended up going for the 10x10. Going forward, I'm going to do my best to do mostly 10x10. However, like I mentioned, sometimes it's just not going to financially make sense. So for example, say you're growing, and you're going to a big event. Let's just say like WonderCon or Comic-Con. I looked into those prices, and a 10x10 tent, easy up space, those are like $800. So obviously that would be selling a ton of product, unless if you're really bumping and you sell that much. So if I were going to like WonderCon or Comic-Con or something like that, I would most definitely just get like a 6x6 table on Artist Avenue or what have you, and I would just do my business there. So I think in terms of the number of tables you're going to buy and how big of a space you're going to get and how much you're going to spend on that space, I think just weigh your options and look at the type of event and how much you're needing to sell and what have you, and then decide on that way. So in preparation for this event, I bought one table, one easy up, and then, just got all my supplies ready. And so when you're buying these items, just try to, for sure, which we'll get into in a minute, visualize how your setup is going to be. Because I bought one table, and as soon as we got there, and as I took a loop around the event just to see what other vendors were doing, I had so many other better ideas of how we could make our setup look better. I'll definitely be implementing those in the future. Because when you think about it, at a farmer's market or vending, people are just walking and literally, and I do it too, your eyes just kind of wander like back and forth. So I would recommend having a setup that's going to grab everyone's attention just as they're walking by. Because with our situation, we were tucked in a corner and we just weren't even in anyone's line of sight. Like we were in like a dark corner, and I was like, and we would watch people and they wouldn't even look at us. And we figured, I don't think that it's because our product sucks. Like, I think that it looks really good, obviously. Like, I just think that they can't see it. I just don't think it's grabbing their attention. We're like out of their line of sight. Especially if you're outside and people are walking around, like, you don't want them to have to work to see your product. You want it to like grab them and tractor beam them in. So, yeah. So, going forward, I'm going to get 3 tables, 2 or 3, box ourselves in and have all of our products just everywhere, just so it grabs the most people's attention, personally. And so this leads us into our second topic: plan your setup ahead of time. You're going to have around 2 hours, typically is pretty standard, to set up your booth. But when you get there, you don't want to waste any time planning and shuffling things around. You want to have a pretty good outline of how you're going to set everything up. Obviously, we all change things while we're there. As you sit there and you're seeing things, you're going to shuffle them around. That's fine. But in order to maximize your profit and to maximize grabbing people's attention, you are going to want to plan things ahead of time and at least have an outline. And while you're planning your outline, please, because this is what I didn't do, please think about if you were a customer and you were walking around at a swap meet or a farmer's market. Think about the booths that you would or you would not go to. Or better yet, think about the booths that would like grab your attention and just what would feel inviting for you in terms of like going over to someone's booth. Think about all the different customers you're going to have. You're going to have introverts, you're going to have extroverts, you're going to have the person that's not even wanting to shop. They just want to come talk to you. I mean, there's so many people that come to these events. But I feel like when I'm at a farmer's market or a swap meet, just when you walk inside the tent, it just feels like stuffy, and it feels like you're going to have eyes on you from the seller. They're either going to be watching you just to make sure you don't steal, or they're going to be overly helpful and ask you like, oh, is there anything I could do for you? Oh, can I get you anything? And for me as a shopper, I just get very like, don't talk to me. So as soon as I made it back to my booth, and I talked to Matt, I was like, hey, we need to push our table forward because right now people have to walk into our tent to come and take a look at our stuff. And I just think people either aren't seeing our items or people probably just don't want to have to come in and make the conversation. Okay, number 4, inventory. Obviously, you don't want to bring your entire inventory unless if you think you're going to sell out. If you are like so confident that you need to bring, if it's a big bump in event and you want to bring tons of inventory to be able to sell, or if you tend to sell out, awesome. Personally, I don't bring my entire inventory just because I know it's probably unlikely that I'm going to sell out of just like everything, and that's so much to carry. So I brought about 4 or 5 of each candle that we have. I just thought that was a good number just in case one was super popular and one other wasn't. And also, I can't specify this enough, keep track, because at first, I don't know why, it just slipped my mind. I didn't bring a list of like inventory, but I brought paper. So while I was there and as candles were starting to sell, I was like, we don't even know how many we have left. Like, I don't want to have to go through and count them each time. So I started writing down our inventory and just keeping tabs on the ones that we sold, just so we obviously could keep inventory. We could tell if anything was stolen. And you don't want to get frazzled during all this because sometimes your booth may not have anyone, and sometimes your booth may have 3 or 4 customers at it or more. And you don't want to be stuck in like a frazzled state if people are buying and everyone's asking you questions. You just want to be able to say, you need this one? Cool, we got 3. Go grab one, put it in a bag, good to go. Okay, tip number 5. This, of course, take it with a grain of salt. Do whatever you want. It's your business, and some of us are lucky to be able to have an option in this, and some of us aren't. But if it's your first time, I would recommend bringing a friend with you, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your brother, your sister, anyone who's willing to help you. Having a friend there does give you that confidence boost of like, okay, like we could think through things together. Having a friend there or a partner is going to make setup really a lot easier, especially if you're setting up an easy up. Those are hard to put up by yourself. So I would say if you have an option to bring someone, at least your first time so you can get your groove going, or the first couple of times to get your groove going, do it. Okay, sorry, I did the numbering wrong. Now we're on number 5. Or tip number 5, don't be afraid to price yourself how you want to price your, like what you value your item at. Don't be afraid of that. Don't undersell yourself. You know the value and the quality of your product, so don't be afraid to price it as so. However, I will say, while you're at a farmer's market, people are out on the weekend or whatever day, and a lot of them want to spend money on smaller things, so like $5, $10. My candles are priced at $30 for the marbled version, and the solid version is $27. And so we made fine sales, and no one actually was really weird about our prices. So I would just recommend having a couple items at your table. So if they see the larger priced item and they think that's too expensive, they might see the $15 priced item and they might buy that instead. But I did notice that some people came to our table and we only had really one price at our table, which was a little bit higher. So I will definitely going forward be including some smaller like molds or just some smaller items, just so people can come to our table and, kind of shop around a little more. However, don't let anyone make you price down your item. You're dealing with the public, you're dealing with a lot of different people. And so you are going to meet those people that just don't want to spend money on your product, or they can't afford your product or what have you. But for as many people that are not willing to spend the price on that product, you're going to get just as many people walking around that totally are. We had a couple people that just walked up and they smelled it and they're like, here's 100, and we gave them their change and that was it. So don't fret if you have someone that thinks it's too expensive. That's on them. That's not on your product. So stay strong. And I believe a good rule of thumb for your retail price, so for the cost that it takes for you to make the product, I heard pricing it up about 3 to 4 times is the industry standard. I believe mine's at around 3. 4, it was just going to be too much. It didn't make sense to me personally. 3 sounded just right. So that's mine. All right. We made it to the last tip. Okay, so my last and final tip, and this just takes me back to my old customer service property management days. I think it's just something good to know. I think it just always looks best to look busy. And obviously you're not going to be busy the entire day, but if you're just sitting at your tent and you're just kind of lounging, the customer, the perception just kind of looks like, oh, they're bored, or once I walk up, all the attention's going to be on them. And it just feels like less organic of an interaction versus if you were busy doing something. It's just kind of like how you want to finesse the look of your table. So my recommendation, obviously you're going to be vending all day, so there's going to be times where you're going to be sitting and what have you. But think about it like if you were at like your work, or if you were working somewhere. You're not going to be sitting just looking at your phone the entire day. And if you did, that perception to that customer is going to be, oh, they're just sitting around. So this is your own gig, of course, but what I found myself doing, I was just making it look like I was busy. I was rearranging things. I was taking inventory. I was shuffling things around as much as possible. Or I was networking and talking to people. And I just liked that vibe overall. There's nothing wrong with sitting. Of course, we were sitting a lot, but I just thought I would mention, just kind of keep an image of like how you want your perception to the public to look like. Like, we have nothing going on at our table, so we're so bored that we're going to sit, But that's just me. That's just my own thing. Anywho, y'all, that's it. Those are my tips. I wanted to keep it somewhat short and sweet. I wanted to just come on here and explain my experience and things that I'll keep with me and will fine tune moving forward, just so you can have this as well when you start vending at your own events. Anywho, guys, thank you so much. It's also a holiday weekend. Woo! 4th of July weekend. I love 4th of July weekend. I actually think we're going to the river this year, so I'm excited about that. I love the 4th of July. It just puts me in a good mood. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Feel free to comment on this YouTube video if I didn't answer anything, or if you have any additional questions. I'm super happy to answer that for you. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend. Be safe, but don't be too safe. All right, guys, until next time, this is Kimberly with Drip from the Crypt products. If you're ever curious of any of the materials or products that I use in my candle, for my candle line, you can find all the links in the descriptions down below this video. If you like this video and you want to see more of these videos, it would be super helpful if you shot a firework right at the like button and you hit the bell so you receive the notifications from me. If you'd ever like to purchase one of my candles or you'd like to go check all of them out, I can be found on Instagram, and my shop is on Etsy. So I will link everything down below as well. All right, y'all, it's been such a pleasure. Until next time, it's been so very real. See ya.